All right. Thank you all for coming to the October 13th meeting. I'm going to go ahead and do the roll call. Um, uh, Travis Tom is not present. Brian Wong, not present. George Houston, also not present. John Singletary, not present. John Caldera, not present.
Oh, thank you.
Joshua, huh? I got you.
I'm just,
I
I'm just,
got
pick,
you.
I'm just picking on John.
Oh,
Joshua Sharp.
Present.
All right, right on. P.T. Wood.
I am here.
All right. And Terry Faber, we weren't expecting her. And we do not have a quorum as we discussed. However, we can go ahead and proceed with the meeting as planned. As noted, we just can't vote on anything without quorum. So I'll bring up our agenda. Usually the first thing we lead off with is last meeting's minutes. Hopefully everybody had a chance to um, read those. But then we also would need quorum to accept the minutes. And so um, we wouldn't be able to do that without quorum. Hopefully we can accept the minutes for this meeting and the previous meeting at our next meeting. So we'll postpone that until then. Right on. Yes. Sorry about that. I've got a buku tabs open. All right. So, I don't see in the list of attendees that we have anybody who was the guy that was here last time?
yes, and I believe,
What was it, Alex?
yes, he's in the waiting room
Oh, he is. Oh, okay.
and
Oh
he
no,
has,
yeah,
Nope.
he's actually able to just see, hear and see us now. So he's just in
Perfect.
the attendee room.
Okay. All right. Well, cool. Right on. Yeah, I didn't see him showing up, but um, not sure if he does. Do we have any other attendees? Because I'm looking at the minutes and I'm not looking at my screen right now. And if so, I want to offer them the opportunity for comments if they have any. I'm going to throw it open to the public. Not hearing any requests for public comments. I'll go ahead and let's move on to old business. So we kind of ran out of time at the last meeting, so we've got about 3 items, actually 2 items from old business. The first thing we wanted to start off is we wanted to have a look at the current compensation and how we are compensating the state elected officials and officers, and seeing what they'll kind of detail what that is, and then look at what changes we might be looking at making. So I will throw that open for discussion. And that document, those documents are actually in our folder, our shared folder.
Yeah.
And thanks. And Barb's also got the link to that information in the slide.
And it also looks like Meg put the link in the chat for
In the
everybody
chat.
if you want to take a look at that, if anybody had any questions. Sorry, Joshua, I spoke over you.
No, I was.
Oh, did you have a?
Yeah, I just have a hand up. That's all.
Oh, you did. Oh, sorry. Yeah, Joshua. Go.
Yeah, I was wondering if there was a reason given when these were adopted, if there was a reason given that I mean, you have this peculiar, not necessarily peculiar, but this result of the AG being paid more than the other. Obviously, the governor is paid the most.
Mhm.
You have the AG being paid more than the other three. I mean, I sort of understand the lieutenant governor being paid less. Just in terms of burden of responsibilities. I was wondering, but that's the same as the state and the state as a secretary of state and the state treasurer. I was wondering if there were if anybody knew at the time that these were determined. I mean, they obviously looked at the numbers. They obviously, looked at what these results would be, and there must have been a reason the AG was given a higher salary. Does anyone know offhand? I mean, we can conjecture, but does anyone know offhand why that might be?
Barb.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Joshua, I can't say that I know why it was designed that way, but as you saw, the salaries are based off of different levels of judicial officers. And the attorney general is matched off of the chief judge of the Court of Appeals, and the other ones are county court judges. So again, I don't understand the logic or the reason behind it, but because it's tied to a higher level judicial officer, it would just tend to be more.
That's the formula, but I'm
Yes.
wondering how
Yeah.
they must have looked at it and said, okay,
Yeah.
this is going to result in the AG getting more and the lieutenant governor getting the same as these others. I was just wondering if there was anything in the maybe we find out when this was we have when it was adopted, right? We have the bill for which this was adopted, right? So maybe there's some legislative history we can go back and look at. See how they got to that. And so I was interested in the rationale for this because it could inform our own rationale. Or we could say, listen, these guys made a mistake, or they got it wrong, or we could say they got it right, and it was good. I mean, it's just always good to know rather than retread everything.
Right.
It's sometimes useful to hear what other people who had to go through this were thinking.
Yeah, I also saw that as well. I was just wondering, we were talking about some market results, and I wonder if it's possible that could be driving it, but that's conjecture. And plus, but they're all elected positions, so
Who is, do we know who sets the judicial salaries? Since that's what all this is kind of based off of.
Yes.
Barb, you recognize?
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Let's see. Currently, so this is how the judicial officer salaries have been adjusted recently. I don't know, in the past few years, and now it's the General Assembly who determines the salaries of the judicial officers, and we'll see that in a few slides down the road here. But previous to that, I can't speak to how they were determined. Of course, all salaries have to be approved, but currently today, it is the General Assembly that approves the judicial officer salaries, and it's included in the long bill in the judicial section, and that's linked further down, but I can't speak to prior to that.
Gotcha. So I guess I'm wondering what the impetus for the bill, of the methodology that was currently in place. I was wondering what was or what wasn't working with that as well. So
I know there was a point early on where Colorado's governors were paid less.
okay.
And there was a feeling that this was under the previous compensation commission. There was
Okay.
that they were underpaid compared to other governors.
Okay.
So I don't know. I don't know about the other offices. I didn't do a lot of digging into that. But.
Okay. Because yeah, I just, I saw the what, but not necessarily the why, reading through the bill. So, but that does make sense. All right. So, so we want to just walk through the salaries and any additional information about how they're calculated before we move off of this. Sounds like we're good then, Meg. Let's go into the next slide.
Real quick, sorry. Do we know what historically they based those percentages on, or were those just numbers they made up?
It's a good question. I did not see where it was detailed how they arrived at those percentages.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll go with it for now and see if we can find some history at some point.
Yeah, but I didn't. And even the percentages, like as far as the per diem and why it was just a percentage of the federal per diem. I don't know why it was, it was shorted. So anyway. Right. So these are the per diems for the governor, $20 per day. And I can't remember what, I'll have to pull that one up. I've got one. It's in one of my tabs. I was looking at that, the base judicial officer salaries. Somebody had it. Oh, Barb.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
So these are some of the statutes that play into the current calculations of the elected salaries, elected official salaries. Specifically 249101 speaks about the salaries, as well as there's a $20 per day stipend or per diem rate for specific positions that actually act as governor in lieu of the governor when needed. And then the next statute talks about where the judicial officer salaries had come from. And then the last one, the 25206, is a portion of the long bill showing where the General Assembly approved the current judicial officer salaries that have been used to create the elected officials' the salary. So just a little backdrop there.
Oh, okay. Just the baseline
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
salaries.
Great word.
Okay. Gotcha.
And then we could probably go into the LexisNexis and it'll tell us when those were changed. When, for instance, CRS 3104,
Mm-hmm.
it'll give some, it won't give you the bill number, but it will give you the date of the revision.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, I think, if I recall right, I think that bill is actually in the shared drive, and it show
Oh.
and yeah, and it shows the revisions and stuff.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thanks for highlighting that as well. That's useful.
Mm-hmm. There we go.
Mhm.
Do we want to just pull that one up?
Which one would you like?
Which one? It's the 24/9/101.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right, let me get that.
we're gonna show
up.
that one. Thanks.
Give me a second. $24.
Got our bill up.
Got it. Found it. Put the,
And I did give you permission, Barb, to share your screen if you wanted to.
okay. Would you like me to share my screen just so we can look at the 24/9/101, or do we look at it on our own? What would you prefer?
I am pulling it up
got it?
now, but
Perfect.
if you want to it's in, yeah, just delving into it. I thought I had it open, but I did not. Yeah, but while I'm putzing around with that, if you want to just
Okay.
share it out.
I'm going to do my best, and please, I am on a very small screen here today, so I will do my very best.
Okay.
All right. I'm going to steal this, Meg.
All right.
Am I sharing 24/9?
Yeah, that's one I'm
101?
looking at. Yep. Yeah,
I
it's
shared the right screen. Good.
good.
We're off to a good
Good,
start
good,
here.
yeah, excellent. Excellent.
And so this statute talks about, we can see this is where all the elected official salaries have been defined. And you can see in here on or before January 27th, it says how they were being paid. But then after January 27th, it's based on the amount set by the commission. So that's really what this statute does. And it talks through all the positions. Next, we have lieutenant governor.
Mm-hmm.
Talks about the county court class B for the judges in the county court class B. And then it talks further down when it becomes January 1st, it's set by the commission. Also for the lieutenant governor, you'll see in these two sections here, 3 and 4, that if they're covering another position, they get paid a different salary, acting as a head or acting as a department chair or the lead of an organization. For example, the Office of People Saving Money on Healthcare. So that might be something we might want to consider going forward. I mean, I think we have to because it's in a different statute.
Mm-hmm.
But there's the lieutenant governor. And then again here, on or after January 27th, 2027, it's the amount set by the commission. And it goes through the same thing for the Attorney General. And then on or after the 2027, it's set by the commission. And so this
Mm.
statute talks about historically, just briefly historically, sorry, Joshua, I don't think it goes back too far unless you can pull that out of here. What their current salaries are based on, meaning judicial officers, and then January 1, 2027 by the commission.
Mm.
And it goes on for the rest of the elected official positions, ending with the state treasurer.
Yeah, so this wouldn't
Yeah.
really, unless this really wouldn't have legislative history. This wouldn't have rationale. What would have rationale would be the debate, which is presumably recorded. The other thing is, the other thing is, can we go? What was the statute that determines the judicial salaries? Just the CRS. What's the number? Colorado Revised Statute 133104. Okay.
And that should also be in the drive.
That is.
No, that's fine. What I want to do is go back. If you go back to the bill, I'll show you at the bottom what I'm talking about.
Mm. Okay.
Oh, the revision dates down there.
Sorry, not the bill. The law, the statute.
Okay.
Ours or the 249101?
Yes.
Okay. I'm scrolling down to the bottom of, and
There
the
you go.
history?
Yeah.
Under history. Oh, okay.
Right. And so what that does is that tells you, so that gives you a date. If you scroll down to the bottom, there you'll see it doesn't give you a bill number, unfortunately, but it gives you a date. And so what you can do is you can go back to say that the bills in 2024 or 2023, depending on how you'd have to give some lead time, I guess. You can't benefit from a salary increase without an intervening election. So you go back to 2024 or 2023 and maybe do a search. Okay, see, there's HB 241059, but that's what we're discussing. That's not. That's why we're here. That's not that's not the. Anyway, that would give you a sense. That might give a sense of go back and then you see there's HB. It does give HB 191127. Well, look at that. Look at that. That's either new or distinctive here, or whoever was typing up the note decided to do that. So those are some bills that, for people with way too much time on their hand, could go back and listen to the committee hearings, which would probably be more informative than the floor debate, and listen to what the reasoning was for this, or for why it's structured the way it is.
Thank you, Joshua. I'm going to stop sharing here.
I hope that wasn't condescending to people who. I hope that wasn't condescending to people. I've just done way too much of this stuff, and you sort of have to know where to look. So.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. All right. Do we need to delve into 25206 at all?
If I may, Mr.
Yeah.
Chair, go ahead,
Sure.
Joshua.
I think that's the answer to.
You went on mute, bro.
I think that's possibly the answer to PT's question, isn't
it? The 25206 of the judicial section, page 154 and 155, is a portion of the long bill that was signed this past year, that where legislation established and approved judicial officer salaries. So not welcome to look through there. That's in our drive as well. There's not a lot of history, just part of the, it's not allocation, but it's part of the the funds that were dispersed, I guess you could say.
The,
Gotcha.
the appropriations.
That's the word. Thank you
That's
very much.
words. Right on. All right. Let's go next slide.
Told you I spent way too much time doing this.
Delving into this. And then this is what we were talking about, is these the differences in the salary, and why the Attorney General seems to be an outlier. And that is a curious thing about why that is. I wonder if it has to do with the actual duties that are expected of the Attorney General. But you would think that they would be commiserate, at least with the treasurer. I think that's as involved a position as the Attorney General is, at least in my mind. But
Well, it's not just that it's different percentages; it's also a different office. I mean, a different judge that it compares to. I mean, if they
Right,
wanted to.
right.
I'm just wondering why they said a higher percent, like 60% versus 58%, and this judge rather than that judge. Or it seemed that they could have said 62% of this judge and the others are 50. But I don't know. I mean, who knows why
Gotcha.
legislators do anything?
Yeah, you know, but yeah. So, but anyway, that's our starting point. So, if you can we go to the next slide out? All right. And then these are just the current salaries for the elected officials. And we were looking at this one, and right after our last meeting, and it's really curious because it seems to me like it's unnecessarily complicated, because the salary is kind of a rolling one. If you come in when you come into your first term, you get this. For example, this one here, the January 2025, if you started, but if you had started your term prior to that, you will stay at that 43,977 until the very. Do you know something about this?
Yeah,
Why
the
why is
reason
that?
Yeah, it's because there's got to be an intervening election. You can't vote. They didn't want to vote themselves a pay increase and then immediately see that. What they wanted to do was vote a pay increase and then say, okay, for anybody who voted for this, you have to get reelected. You can't just be voting yourself an increase immediately.
Gotcha.
And
Okay.
and then that would be, that's why House members, it's all House members because they're elected. They're elected every 2 years.
Okay.
So the
Okay.
senators just say, well, if you started your term early, or if you started your term not early, but before 2025, then that means you probably started it in 2023. And so you can't. We're not gonna let you benefit from that, or 2021. You have to wait. You have to get reelected.
Okay. Okay. So is that even the case if you weren't elected, but you're doing the remainder of a term for maybe somebody who stepped down or something?
Yeah,
That
I mean,
also, I think that applies to them as well.
yeah, no, it does. I
Okay.
mean,
Okay.
and yeah.
All right. Cool. Good. Thanks for the explanation. That's kind of a head scratcher when we were looking at that. All right. Let's go to the next slide. All right. So this one is the per diem, and this is one we're talking about where it's 25% of the federal per diem, and again the same thing. Not exactly sure why that particular percentage. Joshua.
Yeah, so it's not that it's, I don't know, I don't know why they settled on 25%. But the reason
Yeah.
that there's a difference between 25% and 90% is logic. That
Mhm.
if you're coming in from, Durango, uh, you got to pay for a motel, uh, and so, or an Airbnb or whatever, whatever you can do for lodging. So that's why that. I don't know why it's 90%, not 100%. There might be that.
Mhm.
That's a question there.
Mm.
The bulk of what you're going to spend is on lodging. Certainly much more than you would spend on food.
Right, right.
And so that's the reason why those are different.
Gotcha, gotcha. That makes sense. Like I said, I understand the difference between the two. It just don't, it's kind of a little opaque as to why the percentages themselves are set the way they are. But we know where they're getting that from. And so, um,
And I think as we think about this and think about making a recommendation, it'd
mhm,
be really great for posterity if we were able to articulate the reasoning there and make sure that the next group that does this is like, oh, that's why.
mhm,
Because and maybe that's out somewhere and I just haven't seen it yet, but I know that it is. And with the per diems, I think ultimately it'd be useful to take a look at even more of a sliding scale than this. Because if I'm coming from, say, Fort Collins, which is outside of the metro district, it's still not
mhm.
going to cost me as much to go down and be in Denver as it is if I'm coming from Durango or Dolores or.
Right, right. Because you may, I see you, Joshua. But you could still drive back to Fort Collins. You could not be going back and forth to Durango. But go ahead, Joshua.
There is a mileage compensation as well.
Okay.
So that's it's not it may maybe it comes up in a later slide, but there is a mileage reimbursement. I think that uses just the federal mileage reimbursement, 64 cents a mile or whatever that is.
Gotcha. Let's go over to the next slide then. All right. What we got? General Assembly members necessary attendance at meetings. Okay. Barb, I see you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this was just basically talking about, after discussion of how we got where we are, to the best of our knowledge, this is where we need to go. Kind of bringing us in, centering us back on what work the commission needs to get done.
Gotcha. Okay. Joshua.
Obviously, we can't vote on anything here, but I'd like to when we get back together the next time and we talk about this, I'd like to see if we could include in Mercer's charter comparing the pension benefit, include that somehow, because that's even though it's small to some degree, I mean, sort of small.
Mhm.
If uh, you're in the legislature for, if you max out at 16 years, uh, even if you don't, even if you're in for 12 years or so, it's not nothing.
Oh,
Um,
no. Yeah.
and so I think some states require it. Colorado is one that requires it. There are other states where it's optional. There are some states where they're not included. So
Right.
I think maybe we should consider including that as well, because it's real compensation.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, I kind of like it because it basically gives the legislators some skin in the game. Uh, you know, that that especially as we as state employees are in, it kind of like, hey, you see what's going on and you're affected by it too. The other thing I was curious about, I was curious if there is the 5-year vesting um requirement that uh, the other members of PARA have?
It's a good question. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
Easy enough to
Yeah.
find out.
yeah, yeah, for sure. All right. Let's go to the next slide. What do we, oh, this is really kind of the crux of what we wanted to talk about. I know we threw when Leah and the rest of the Mercer team were out, we were kind of throwing out what some considerations that we might consider. There were a few of them out there, like I kind of was talking about like the difference between the actual cost of living versus the cost of labor.
Mhm.
And so, I was really hoping we'd have the whole group here to kind of hash that out, what we thought those important criteria that we uh, would need to include to get a real accurate picture of what we should be doing for compensation. Um, do y'all recall? I think there was in the minutes there was actually Barb did a good job of capturing that conversation we were having. You had a chance to look at that. If you remember, if any of them that were in there that stood out for you as something we should think about including.
Um, well, I mean, I don't, I mean, I think if we're comparing cost of labor, we're comparing out to state legislators, really. Um, if we're comparing cost of living, that's another kettle of fish.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
we, uh, I think we ought to. Um, these are good things to think about in terms of comparable states and geographic index. Whether or not we even want to include them, but we should certainly talk about that. It might be better not to include them. It might be better to include them. I have a fixed opinion on that, and I think we probably need a larger group to do it justice.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The other thing too that came up is, do we just narrow the focus to just the legislature, or do we also widen it out to include maybe some comparable positions in the public, in the private sector? So, um, Barb.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate you pointing that out. I know we've had previous conversations about the private sector. You're like a CEO? What? And if you were to read through read through the bill, it does say that we need to take into consideration the private sector as far as qualifications are concerned. It didn't say duties, which I found interesting. And I could pull up my notes really quick, hopefully, and I can tell you exactly what it says. Because whether it comes out being a factor or not, I think as the commission, there's a responsibility to reflect on it, consider it, and make a recommendation because the bill says that we must. Let me find it really quick.
All right. While you do that, I'm gonna pull up that bill too, because I was looking at that earlier.
I might have put it in the thing.
Here we go.
Darn. I found it, Mr. Chair. If you'd like,
You,
I could share my screen. if
Oh,
everybody
that'd be
has.
great. Yeah.
So let me make it a little bit bigger. Is that a good size? Can you all read that there?
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
in this
Very nice.
section, in making the recommendations, there's 3 things that the commission needs to consider. The compensation paid in government services. Okay, great.
Mm-hmm.
And in the private sector to persons with similar qualifications.
Mm.
Hmm.
To
Hmm.
attract.
Yes. And then secondly, the amount of compensation needed to attract and retain. And I think maybe PT, you brought this up before, attract and retain people, get good experienced, competent candidates, as well as the ability of the state to pay the recommended compensation. So those are the 3 considerations from the commission when making recommendations. And I thought I don't quite understand that myself, what similar qualifications would be, but it wouldn't be job for job, private sector
Mm-hmm.
to the governor, because there is really no match, but maybe the qualifications of a person to become the governor. And that's
Mm-hmm.
where I think, I know Leah, you're on, we would lean on Mercer for a little bit of assistance in that area because it is not clear.
No, it's not. And also, and now that I look at that again, that last one, the ability of the state to pay the recommended compensation. Ah, how would we go about ascertaining that? You know,
It's whatever you can get through the legislature, right?
That is a good question.
Well, I wonder about the qualifications too, because I mean,
Yeah.
what are the qualifications to run for the legislature? You have to be in your district and have lived there, and
Mm-hmm.
like
Mhm.
in statute, those qualifications are minimal. In practice, to be effective, there's a whole lot more there. But I guess we're in some way charged with quantifying those things as well, then.
Okay.
That's a gigantic kind of philosophical can of worms, right?
Not
It is.
clear.
It is. Yeah.
Mhm.
Right. All right. So,
So
let
just from Mercer, just to
yes.
kind of chime in on,
Yeah.
what we would normally say, which is aligned to what you just showed, Barb, in the commission document that said, I'm just going to read it again, that said, you know, the compensation paid in government service and in the private sector with similar qualifications, the amount needed to attract and retain experienced and competent, people to fill the role, and then the ability to pay. So for the first 2, really what we would begin to talk to the governing body around those people that are making the compensation decisions is, where would you begin to look for people? Where would they come from? And so it's really, kind of determining what the talent marketplace is essentially for a role, right? So where would you begin looking? What would you be looking for? So that would be regardless of the job, the industry, that's what we would, begin to have discussions around, especially for leaders. I know here we have comparable states and then, geographic indices, which we talked last time that there's a lot of economic factors that you can consider. It can be, you know, cost of labor, cost of living, ECI, CPI, CPU. There's a lot of indices that can be considered as well. But some of the things that we brought onto the, you know, we pulled into the materials from last time, and this was just things we've seen considered before. I'm not saying that it's right for this necessarily for these positions or for your team to consider, is like population size. And if there's huge influxes of people for certain events, you know, and things that would be, you know, considered as well. Geographic size, location in terms of, you know, what's the proximity to a metro? If that person is going to, you know, kind of be required to live in a location or at least near a location so that they can physically report to work, that would definitely be something that would be, would need to be considered. And so, you know, and then as I mentioned before, also cost of living, cost of labor. And so I think it's really, are there certain comparable people in this position that, you know, you say, well, if we were in, you know, fill in the blank state, or if we were in fill in the blank, you know, even large city, you know, they would be doing this. Like, who do you compare yourselves to versus like, well, we wouldn't compare ourselves to them anyway, because that's not what we need for this person to do the job. That's the discussion around the factors specifically that we would want to begin to have with your team. I understand there's not a quorum, so we can't like make decisions, but at least just
Right.
kind of to get the team thinking about, you know, these are the questions that we'd be asking for people to answer.
Okay. Leah, Joshua's got a question.
No, that's okay.
Okay. Good. All right, let's thanks, Leah. Let's go into the next. Go to the next one. So, for old business, I was the third item of the old business was talking about the parking lot, but we're just going to kill that one because I don't think we at this point we really have things to put in there nor the time for it. So we'll save that for some other time. So new business, looking at the schedule and kind of looking at the work that we have coming up, I really think that we're going to have to make some adjustments to our frequency meetings. And so I was talking with Barb, and we were kind of going back and forth and thinking how we could increase the meetings that we have in order to make sure that we're not scrambling at the back end of it. So these are the dates that we were looking at shuffling around, and it also counts, you know, holidays and also the information that we have about holidays that are coming up. So that's been kind of taken into consideration. And what is looking at these proposed dates, are there any that stand out as not workable for any of you all?
It looks like basically we're going from once every other week to once every to weekly.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, but in some of the weeks, and plus we've got the Thanksgiving holidays coming up. That's going to really impact things as well. So
Should be able to make most of that work.
okay. All right. So we can send this out again to the other folks who weren't able to attend so that they can weigh in on it. But I'd like to get this on our calendar and make sure that that it works for the remainder of the crew, so we can do this going forward. Cool. And oh, go ahead, Barb. Oh, you're unmuted.
Well, I almost made the meeting without doing that. Meg, if you wouldn't mind, if you could put the link to the calendar one more time into the PDF calendar into the chat. And for the members that are on the call, the calendar is basically a Word document calendar that goes meeting by meeting, has the dates for the meetings and the possible discussion and topics that we're going to be going through to ensure that we cross the finish line. And as Skip mentioned, not scrambling at the end. So please take a look at that as well. That is also in the shared drive. All of the documents that we've seen linked in the chat or in the presentation are all stored in our shared drive. So happy research. Feel free to go through and read through as many of those to help us all get on the same page and have a solid understanding of where we're going to go. And the calendar is just so that you all know kind of what to expect meeting by meeting by meeting, so that we can hit those dates, so that we can be done on the 15th of December, which will be here before we know it. Thank you,
Yay.
Mr. Chair.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. So yeah, so the other new business that, or the business that we will have the next time, well, for old business, will be what we were going to discuss today, which is really coming up with the criteria that we want to have Mercer look at when they're looking at what they could do with us to get the information that we need in order to make a decision. So we'll just reiterate that and send it out to the other people, other members, so that they can have a chance to look at that and be prepared prior, because that'll be our first order of business, the next meeting on the 21st. So cool. Before we adjourn, was there any questions or anything, or anything that you would like for us to have on the agenda for the next time that we haven't discussed today? Cool. Not hearing anything, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
All right, we got a motion and we've got a second. Thank you all. We are adjourned for this one, and we'll see you at the next meeting. Thanks.
Thanks, y'all.
All right, y'all take care.